Hey folks, John Cantera, the Double Broker Bounty Hunter here. Thanks for joining us on a beautiful day where we have our part two of our fraud prevention series dealing with double brokering. And last time we talked about the definition of double brokering and some of the regulatory guidance behind it. Today, we're going to be talking about the different types of double brokering that exist, including its various variants that are out there plaguing the industry. So before we get into that, let's go ahead and give some love to our sponsor, AccuBid Pro. If you're new in this industry, the only way you survive is by knowing your costs. Regulate your costs with AccuBid Pro.
Do you know your cost per mile? Have you been hitting your profit margins? Do you struggle with bidding in a way that is both profitable and competitive? Would it be worth it to have all this information right in front of you? By calculating your cost per mile, AccuBid Pro helps you stay profitable in an industry still struggling to recover. In order to calculate your cost per mile, AccuBid Pro asks you questions about your business expenses. Our goal is to help you understand what you need to keep operating in order to keep up with the game and maintain your business. Enter your origin and destination, and we show you what you should bid based on your personal cost per mile in order to be profitable, even including a more detailed breakdown of each bid. Download the app today and get your 30-day free trial of AccuBid Pro, available on the App Store and Google Play. Bid smarter, bid faster, bid better with AccuBid Pro.
Okay, folks. So special thanks to AccuBid Pro for sponsoring this series. We are going to be going on about the different types of double brokering and their variants. So let's go ahead and get right down to it. Now, there are two main methods of double brokering that are operating, and then a main variant that exists. So early on, when double brokering was first really starting to get popular, and this would be back in 2022, we had the skim off the top method, where you would have brokers who were legitimate, who were actually committing this double brokering thing. And when they were discovered after about 6, 8, 12 months of operating, then they go to shut down. And that's when you get to the end game. And that will then work into the too good to be true model, which is the second type. Then you have the variants that exist out there, which include impersonations. We see a lot of impersonating of carriers out there to commit double brokering. We have brokers being impersonated on DAT, truck stop, etc., on a regular basis for double brokering. And now we are seeing a strong resurgence in shippers being impersonated. So there are a whole lot of stuff going on here. So let's go ahead and break this down a little bit. The skim off the top method, that's my most fun method, because that's really where I got my nickname, the Double Broker Bounty Hunter. So what would happen is you would have brokers out there, legitimate brokers, who are booking loads utilizing their legitimate carrier companies and then rebrokering those loads. In doing so, they would take 30, 40% of the freight bill off the top as part of their fee as it's going to the real carrier. The good news is the real carrier actually got paid what they were promised under these different types of double brokering. So that was a good thing. But what the real carrier didn't know is that they were actually underbidding, and they were losing out on at least 30% of the freight bill. Well, once these guys started getting caught, they would start getting freight guards and all this other stuff thrown against them. Once the model became untenable, then these brokerages would start to shut down. And as they go to shut down, they go into money grab mode. And going into money grab mode, that's when, instead of offering loads at 30% less than what they were getting from the original broker, they were then offering the loads at 30% more or even more than that. I've seen as high as 100% more, just to ensure that a carrier would book the load and haul it. And once the load has been hauled, then the broker would disappear and would never pay. Now, because these were legitimate brokers and they had legitimate bonds, all of these carriers were filing on the bonds, which is the appropriate response. However, when you have a bond of $75,000 and then you have $1.5 million in outstanding claims, the carriers are only going to get back pennies on the dollar once that bond pays out. And that is where the big problem is with the skim off the top and then moving into what I call the end game. So originally, this process is the scammers offer less than what they were collecting from the original broker. The real carrier will get paid, but they're going to be underpaid from however much the load really was supposed to pay. That leads into the too good to be true, which is what we typically see the most of today. So carriers out there, you really need to understand what the rates are within various markets. If the market rate is typically somewhere around $2 a mile and you see a load that's posting at $3.50 a mile, you should be asking a whole lot of questions. You shouldn't be saying, oh yeah, I hit the jackpot. Sorry guys, you didn't. In fact, you're about to lose real big, because that's what these guys are trying to do. They want to make sure that you get excited, that you jump after that load, and you try to do the best job you can. They want that load to deliver, but they're never going to pay you, because the real load only pays significantly less, usually 30% less or more. So this could be a huge problem. So you got to watch for these types of scams. The variant that I really want to call attention to is the impersonation. And this is really what's doing the most damage in the industry today. Carriers are being impersonated by having their safer information hijacked. And the reason why this is happening is that in March of 2023, DOT had a data breach. That data breach only admitted to the loss of federal employee data. That's not the case. DOT PIN numbers were compromised as well. So with the DOT PIN numbers compromised, any DOT PIN that existed prior to March of 2023 is now in the hands of the scammers. It's available on the dark web for sale. So guys, seriously, this is dangerous stuff. If you've been around since before March of 2023, request a new DOT PIN number, because if you don't, you can be a victim very, very quickly. And that's not just for carriers, that's for brokers too, because let's face it, brokers are also being impersonated. When brokers are being impersonated, it's a whole new ballgame. Now, not only are their credentials being stolen through Safer, but they are also being impersonated on the load boards. Now, some of you who have been around a little bit look at DAT and you wonder, hey, wait a minute, they got multi-factor authentication and all this other stuff. How in God's name is someone able to hack into that? It's called phishing. And in a phishing scam, the scammer is going to go and send an email to all the brokers that are out there. And one broker, it just takes one agent, usually a new guy who knows nothing about computer security, will click on the link because it says, click here to verify your DAT credentials. And then all of a sudden, the scammer has the DAT credentials for that brokerage. Once they have that, the scammers go hog wild. They start posting loads like crazy, again, for above market rate to make sure somebody books it. And by the time the brokerage realizes they've been hacked, these guys can post as many as 300 loads in under 10 minutes. We have seen insane numbers of loads get posted very, very, very quickly. They've got the tech, they've got the intelligence, they've got the money to get this stuff done and do it big. So this is a very big problem for brokers right now. You know, one of the other issues that's not represented on this slide is that that's only the first shoe to fall for brokers when a broker is impersonated this way. The second shoe is that the scammer who's been using the broker's rate confirmations and BOLs and all that good stuff has already convinced the real carrier that that broker is the real broker. So when that load gets hauled, and then the individual who's portraying that he's that broker stops answering the phone, the carrier is going to go to the corporate office for that broker and say, hey, you guys owe me money. You guys owe, I hauled that load 300 miles. You owe me $5,000. Well, that's insane, of course. But that's what the carrier is thinking, because the carrier got duped too. But now you have the AP department saying, hey, I'm sorry, this is not our load. We can't pay you. And the carrier is completely screwed at this point. Well, that's one of the things we deal with at VTS. We do have a commercial collections license. We can help carriers find out who the real broker is and at least get them paid something for their trouble. Because when a broker gets impersonated like this, the real broker is paying a scammer, usually. And then when the real carrier steps up, the broker's like, wait a minute, I paid this guy. I was like, but he's not the guy that has the pen and ink BOL. The real guy has the pen and ink BOL, and under 49 CFR 377, they're the one that's supposed to get paid. So the broker has something called double pay liability. Because of that, that broker has got to pay twice for the same load in order to keep the carrier from legally going after their customer. Because carriers, you have a right to go after the customer if the broker refuses to pay. So this can be a huge issue for anyone involved. And before anyone starts throwing around accusations, brokers throwing around freight guards against carriers when they're impersonated, or carriers trying to go after bonds of brokers who are impersonated, get help. There are a few of us on the internet who are very vocal and very active, like myself. We can help you navigate these minefields and get to the right people, say the right things, so you can get paid the right way. And the faster you act, the better you are going to be. The big one to worry about right now is shipper impersonation. So brokers, watch out, watch your backs. You know, I've talked to a couple of brokers who are fairly new to the industry in the last couple of weeks alone, and they have experienced this. What's happening is you have these scammers who are looking for new brokers coming online, try to cultivate a little bit of a friendship with them, and then start offering them loads. What the broker does not realize is this is actually a scammer who is impersonating a carrier to procure freight from the legitimate broker. Then they hand over that freight to the broker they're befriending. And then that broker finds a real carrier to move the freight. Now, here's the big problem. Normally, brokers charge their customers on a 30-day or 45-day net term. It all depends on credit ratings, et cetera, et cetera. But, you know, a new broker might be generous in their credit approval process. You have carriers who are moving loads that the broker is paying out to their factoring companies or paying to the carriers directly while all this is going on. And you get to the end of the 30-day period or 45-day period, and the broker's expecting to get paid by this guy that they think is a shipper. And then he just disappears. Suddenly, the broker has $100,000 worth of loads that have gone out over the course of the month and is not getting any income to cover it. The real broker on the other side has been paying out the scammer. So the scammer took the money and ran. And the second broker, who is a real broker, is now getting accused of double brokerage inadvertently, but they will then be guilty of double brokerage because they are taking a stolen load and then brokering it back out again. So lots of problems with this one. This one is becoming very prevalent. Please, please, please watch your backs on this. So if you ever get into a jam like this and you need some help, I'm the one you call. I'm the double broker bounty hunter, John Cantera. Reach me at jcantera@vigilanttransport.com. My number's on the screen. Reach out to me. I can help you identify the right people you need to get a hold of and help you fix your problem, at least as best as we can. Much appreciation to those of you out here who are watching and subscribing. Thank you very much. Please continue to do so. We do post these types of videos every Thursday. Check us out. We also have my regular live show, Stop the Scam, 1 p.m. on Monday afternoons. Please also check that out. In the meantime, make sure you download AccuBid Pro. First 30-day subscription on AccuBid Pro is free, so it's worth checking out. If you ever have any issues, like I said, you know how to contact me. Stay safe out there, and whatever you do, don't let scammers take you for a ride. We'll catch you next time.